Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'choleinu v'chosha b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'choleinu v'chosha b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon lecho hashalom ki ata hu melech adom lecho hashalom shalom ra.
Are we on? I'm just kidding. Okay. We're on page 9. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We turn to page 11. Lechuna ranina. Lechune ranina. Lechune ranina. Lechune ranina ladonai. Lechune ranina. Lechune ranina. Lechune ranina ladonai. Naria, Naria, Litsui Shenu, Nikadma Pana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Litsui Shenu, Bitmiro Naria Lo. Lechuneranina, Lechuneranina, Lechuneranina Ladonai. Lechuneranina, Lechuneranina, Lechuneranina Ladonai. El Gadol Melech Gadol Arbaim Shana Kud Bedor Vaomar Am Toe Levav Hem Vehem Lo Yadu Drachai Asher Nishpati V'Yapi Im Yevon El Menuchati Shiru Ladonai Shiru Shechadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Shiru Shechadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Baruch Hu Shemo Basumi Yom Leyom Yeshuato Shiru Ladonai Baruch Hu Shemo Basumi Yom Leyom Yeshuato Shiru Ladonai Shiru Shechadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Shiru Ladonai Shiru Shechadash Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz Sabrum Gevona Neflotav Kironai Hod V'Hadar Lefanav Ziver B'Shado Devasu Mincha Ta Ishtagavu L'Rana Kodesh. On page 14, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel Haaretz, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel Haaretz, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Meumelo, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam, Meumelo, Yismechu Hashamay, Hashamay, Yismechu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismechu Hashamayim, V'tagel Haaretz. Lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishpot haaretz, yishpotei b'tzedek, v'amim b'emunato. On page 16, Or Zaru ala Tzadik. Or Zaru ala, la 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 Tzadik. Or Zaru ala, la 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 Tzadik. O Yisraelim simcha. O Yisraelim simcha. O Yisraelim simcha. Or Zerua la. La 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 tzadik. Or Zerua la 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 tzadik. Yisrael simcha. Yisrael simcha. Yisrael simcha. Will you turn in our prayer book to page 20? Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtakavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtakavu lehar kodesho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtakavu lehar kodesho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romimu. Ki Adon Eloheinu romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtakavu lehar kodesho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtakavu lehar kodesho.
We'll turn to page 21. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar,
Kol Adonai Im Vaishaber Adonai et Zehavano.
Egel Levanon Vesirion Kimo.
Musical chairs, Kimbo Ve Re'emim. Kol Adonai Chotzev Lavotesh. Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh. Kol Adonai Echol Elayalot Vayekesov Ye'arot Uvehechalo Kulo Omer Kavod Kulo Omer Kavod. Adonai lama buyashab, vayeshev Adonai melech, lam Adonai hoz, le'amo yitein, Adonai yevah, etam bashalom. We turn to page 23, Lechadodi. Lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela, lechadodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila, lechadodi likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך אפיך, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמו עלייך חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעבר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפתח עמי, היד בנישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, גבור אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי, ומה תאמי בך יחסו, עניי עמי בני בנתה, יראתי לה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחה כול כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהיך, כמסוס קטן על כלה. לך לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תעריצי, היריש בין פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה. לך לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה, ובצולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We turn to page 27. מזמור השיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד במקום. צדיק תמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יבריחו. אור נבון בצבע דשנים ורננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא הבלטה בו. יאללה 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 יאללה. Page 29. Adonai malakeu lavesh osi tazar aftikonte bebalatimo. Nachon gezeranason leveitcha nabakodesh leore Adonai leore yamim. We continue with our Mari portion of our service on page 39. We rise for the Baruch Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam vaed. We'll continue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bibaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma potech she'arim, uvivuna meshana itim umachaliv hasmanim, umesaderet hakochavim, b'mishmeroteram barakea kirtzono, b'yom v'layla golel mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi layla, umavdir ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, Tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv aravim. Page 40, Ahavat olam, Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael amchavta Torah mitzvot hukim umishpatim otanu limaleta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbeinu b'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach mivorei toratecha uvemitzvotecha leolam vaed ki hem chayenu be'orech yameinu be'orech yameinu v'hem negeh Yomam v'layla, Yomam v'layla. V'vadecha lasim b'menu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Oheb amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. Adonai echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'shivdecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letodavot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha v'haya. Continue silently. 42. On the top of page 44. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לחנו שירה ושמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדע בקודש נוראתי לא עושה מלכותך ראו בניך בוקעם לבני משה זה לי אנו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מחזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גיא ישראל. On page 45. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ושמו ביתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה מעולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ודנו ביצת טובה מפניך ובצע כנף הקדוש ישומתי שלום ביתה בעולם. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Please rise. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי כל ומיומי כל ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם ימיה. יתברך וישתבח יתבער מתרומם ינסה ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחה דבן לחמתה דמירה מעמה וימרו amen. We continue with the Amidah silently, page 7. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. Page 53. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישמור ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, היבו שבת מכל מלאכתו, היבו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, אל אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון כוני שמיים וארץ. מגן אבות בדברו, מחיי מתים במאמרו, האל הגדול שאין כמוהו, המניח לעמו ביום שבת קודשו, כי בם רצה להניח להם, כי בם רצה להניח להם, לפניו נעבוד מיראה ופחד, ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד מעין הברכות. אל ההודעות אדוני שלום, מקדש השבת ובורק שביעי, ומניח בקדושה לעמק דושני עונג זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה במנוחתנו. וינוחו ישראל מקדש שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Page 54, Kaddish Shalom. Yikela v'kedashem me'raba, v'yamadi v'raknute, v'yamling malchote, v'chaykon v'yamachon v'chayrechol beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kari v'meru, amen. Yehesh me'raba mevorach, le'olam olam me'amaya. Yitbarach v'shtabach v'yibar v'joma v'naseh, v'yidavid alei v'talal, shemeri kudisha. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונגמתה מאמריה מאמה ואמרו, אמן. תגבה סוד דגון דבר דגון דגון ישראל, קדם בפונו ישמעיה ואמרו, אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמעיה, וחיים בעלי נביאו כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו, אמן.
How come you're so tall? Well, compared to me. It's like... So we begin with an easy question. Why do we have two challahs on Shabbat? And why do we light two candles on Shabbat? Bum, 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 bum. By the way, the answer is the same to both of them. A double portion. Right. With the challahs, when God gave the manna to the Israelites, he gave a double portion on Fridays so that they would have a double portion, right? Okay. Why two candles? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. You got one. You're off the hook. You may leave after services are over. Okay. Hold that for a second. So, in the Lechadodi, you remember Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad. The English translation of that is Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad. That's the Hebrew. Shamor means to guard, and Zachor means to remember in one statement, one phrase. So what this refers to is that there are two versions of the Ten Commandments in the Torah. There's one in the book of Exodus and there's one in the book of Deuteronomy. Or as my grandchildren would say, Deuteronomy. And in one of the versions, it's Shamor ad Yom Shabbat l'kadsho, guard the day of Shabbat to keep it holy. And in the other one, it says Zachor ad Yom Shabbat l'kadsho, remember. So the question then is, how can you have two different versions of the Ten Commandments? And look at how the rabbis slid away from this problem so easily by saying, well, it was really one word. God said the same, Shamor and Zachor, in one word. But because we're human, we have to hear it separately. So we have two candles because Shamor and Zachor, to remember the two different versions of the Ten Commandments. However, why do we have two candles? Right. Remember that people thousands of years ago, people actually went to sleep when it went dark. Mostly because the eagles were not playing. Yes, you are not living that one down. That said, and even when you're not with me, it's going to happen. You can be assured that this is going to happen. Anyway, as I was saying before, I so rudely interrupted myself. The issue is that people went to sleep when it went dark. So therefore, if you were keeping Shabbat, which Jews were doing, the only way you had light in your home was to have candles. And what happens if one candle goes out? Now, there's another reason for two challahs, by the way, because you have to have one for Friday night, and you have to have one for Shabbos afternoon. Sudat Shlishit is a whole different kettle of fish, so to speak. But you need two. You definitely need two. So what this does, since we've given you different versions or different reasons for the same customs, it outlines one of the tensions within our tradition, which is that which is spiritual versus that which is practical. Everything we do, or almost everything we do, as far as ritual is concerned, has both a spiritual element to it or a practical element. One other example, just to round out Shabbat. It is, but I'm not going to go there yet because we're not at Rosh Hashanah yet. So next week we're going to do Rosh Hashanah probably. When you light candles, you go like this. I hope you go like this. Does this sound familiar? Does it look familiar? Not sound. Does it look familiar? You go like this before. Why do you do that? Close. The spiritual reason is that you are literally bringing the Shekhinah, which is God's intimate essence, closer to you. But there's a practical reason as well. When we do the blessing over motzi, when we do the blessing over bread, what goes first? The blessing or the action of eating the bread? The blessing. In general, when you do blessings over something that has to, over an action, you do the blessing first and the action second. But on Shabbat, if you lit the candle, if you said the blessing for Shabbat before you lit the candles, it would be Shabbat. And you could not light the candles. So therefore, you light the candles first, and then you do what's called a fudge. That's a technical term in Jewish law. You create a barrier between you and the candles, and so according to halakha, according to Jewish law, you can now open your eyes, literally, and then you see the candles for the first time, and then you can say the blessing. Now, this runs throughout our tradition in just about everything you can imagine. For instance, and we go back to a midrash which I know some of you have heard, and I promise you will become very ill about before the end of my term here, and that is, how long was the burning bush burning? So rabbis ask a really interesting question. How long was the burning bush burning? Now, if you saw the Prince of Egypt, you'd know. Not at all. But you would have seen the Prince of Egypt. So the answer to that answer, and by the way, that is an answer in the Midrash as well. In other words, Moses is passing by and all of a sudden it shoots up into flame and he sees it. Right? That would make sense. Everyone agree? Well, you just gave two different answers. And by the way, they're both right. Okay? The traditional answer, which is accepted by more, remember you have many different versions of Midrash, is that the burning bush started burning when the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. And it burned for 400 years. And everyone knew that it was burning. But Moshe was the person who stepped aside and actually went over to see what was going on. Now, this is the question the Midrash doesn't ask, but it begs us to ask, which is, what if, is anyone here named Irving? So what if Irving was passing by 150 years into slavery and walked over to see the burning bush? What would have happened? We would now be doing the Haggadah for Passover, and we wouldn't be mentioning Irving's name as opposed to Moshe, because the Torah would have been written by Irving, or given to Irving to give. Now, granted, Irving was not, it was an English regal name that we, as Jews, appropriated, but I think you see the point, which was the Midrash has at least an interpretation that anyone could have been Moshe if they had just been curious enough to turn aside and appreciate what was going on. If they had had the eyes to see what was in front of them, and more than that, recognize how important it was, anyone could have been Moshe. Now, as an aside, my favorite fairy tale fable is Pinocchio. It is my absolute favorite. Not the Disney version. The real version. Has anyone ever read the real version of Pinocchio? So what happens to Jiminy Cricket in the real version? You might want to cover your ears. What happens to Jiminy Cricket? Does. Yeah. And you know who did it? Pinocchio. You can uncover your ears now. We live in a society that is to a certain extent Disneyfied, where Disney took all of these folk tales, which are very important as a genre of literature, and made them into Disney films, which we all love. But they're not the originals. Because, by the way, no one likes a conscience. No one. You know, it's like no one likes to be told what's right and wrong. In our tradition, we have this tension. And I learned about this tension very early because all of my teachers in elementary school and middle school were asserting that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were the paragons of virtue. They were the best of the best. And then you read the texts, and you see that they're human. And the way in which I was taught was that was not allowed. They had to be paragons of virtue. And we couldn't suffer any criticism of what they were. But I always felt, and I still do, that the beauty of the Torah, or one of the things that's beautiful about the Torah, is that it took people who were just people, and it put them into situations where they became a paragon. They still were human. They still made mistakes. They weren't perfect in any sense of the word, but they had the potential to become so much more, and they did. And that those are the types of role models I always wanted. And that said, if you want proof of this, then first of all, we have to congratulate Rabbi Weinblatt and Simcha because they had a new grandchild, and the bris was this afternoon, a grandson. Now, if you've ever been to a bris before in your family, I have 3 daughters, so we never did that type of thing. There's something called a kisei Eliyahu, a chair of Elijah. And it's plunked right in the middle. No one sits in it, whatever reason it is. And the traditional reason for Elijah to be there, for the chair of Elijah, is that Elijah is being punished because he lost faith in the Israelites at some point. And so God punishes Elijah and says, every time these people that you are criticizing do something that is covenantally based, that proves that Judaism is going to survive, you have to be there, which is why Elijah has to come and drink wine at every Seder, and he has to go to every single bris, every single circumcision. But there's another reason for that chair to be there, and that is that we believe that each child that is born has the potential to bring the Messianic age. Now, what more proof do you need that we can become Moses, and we can become Abraham, and we can become Rebecca, and we can become Rachel? We can be as great as those people in the Torah. All we need to do is see the burning bushes in front of us. And to me, especially with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur coming, that is one of the most comforting messages. I'm not being held up to a standard that I can't achieve, but I am being held up to the standard that my potential can achieve. So we'll continue with Kiddush, which is on page 54. I'll get the one.
Okay. All right, I'll keep that busy. So if you had the burning bush and you had it lit for so long, then why did you need 2 candles, right? So because you already had that lit, right? They didn't need another light, right?
Right,
if you
move,
all right, all right, okay. We rise for Kiddush on page 55. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu b'shabbat kodsho v'yahava u'v'ratzon ingilanu zikaron lemaseh v'reishit Yehu yom techila lemikra kodesh Zecher letzion Mitzrayim Kivanu b'charta V'yotanu girashta Mikol amim V'shabbat kodshecha V'yahava u'v'ratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. Amen. We continue standing. Aleinu, page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol Shelo asanu kegoye haratzot Lo samanu k'mishpechot hadama Shelo samchokenu kahem Ve'yor aleinu kechohamonam V'anavnu korim U'mishtakarim u'modim Lifnei melech HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz u'moshe migdalo b'shamayim imav shkinatu zo v'gohei meromim Hu Eloheinu Einon Emet Malkeinu Ebezulato Kakatu B'torato V'yadantayom V'hashemota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'shamayim imav V'haaretz mitachat Einod Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai loch leolam va'ed V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz
Yom hahu Ushema This week, we remember the Yortzites of Gertrude Bergman, Sylvia Bloom, Marie Director, Robert Fisher, Zlata Gloger, Charles Goldblatt, Abraham Hamburg, Abraham Ingber, Janet Kravitz, Sally Krieger, Stanley Loring, Sandra McGuire, Beatrice Polkus, Lou Raphaelson, Max Schneider, David Segal, Martin William Spickler, Rosalind Tunis, and Cecilia Warshaw, and we mourn with the families of the recent departed, Philip Siegel and Paul Lieber. Will all who wish please recite Mourner's Kaddish with me on page 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Bi'olma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam le'omei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'reichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'olma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Announcements. You have a favorite show? I got one. Okay. CBT needs volunteers to usher for the high holidays. Experienced and first-time ushers are all welcome to sign up and choose a slot. You have no idea what I'm singing. Look for the link in the e-Garret or on the High Holidays page on our website. Have you signed your children up for childcare or children's programming? During the High Holidays, visit our page and complete your registration by September 25th. Join Sisterhood for their annual fall membership brunch, which is on Sunday, September 29th from 9:30 to 11:30. Please RSVP. Have you voted yet? Tell everyone why we're simply the best by voting for B'nai Tzedek. That's us. On the Washington Jewish Week Best of 2024 website, we are nominated in 8 different categories. See the link in the e-Garret. And we hope you'll come meet our newest CBT members and enjoy a delicious Shabbat dinner on next Friday at 5:15 p.m. Our Shabbat services are following. Dinner is complimentary, which means you have to compliment it. For all our new families who joined this year, and we're happy to provide babysitting services for ages 15 months. That's biological age until 4 years. Please RSVP on our website and ask for having an officer give the directions and announcements, and also an officer give the. You didn't listen. If the rabbi has to do the announcements, they're being done the way the rabbi wants to do the announcements. So we will conclude the service with something.
They don't teach that, though.
No, they don't.
They don't teach that.
Thank God.
Yeah, it's something. Is that the intro, the before the intro? It's, I just have this very, it's not easy to do that. It's not easy. All right, we're on page 62. Yigdal Elohim chai ve'yishtabach nibtza ve'yeneitem etziuto echad ve'nyachid kehikudo nelam vegam etzov le'achduto ein lo demutago ve'yeino guf lo na'arok elav kedushato l'mon l'chol davar asher nivra Rishon Rishit L'Reishito Hino Adon Olam Bechol Notzar Yoreh Gedulato Malchuto Shefan Nevuato Netano El Anshe Segulato V'Tifato Lo Kam B'Yisrael K'Mosheo Navi U'Mavid Et Emunato Torah Temenatan Le'Yamo Elaya Nevio Neiman Beito lo yachalifael velo yamir dato leolamim lezulato sofevio dea sitarenu mabila sodavar bekan mato komelis kesed kemifalo lo tenerat shara kerishato Ishlak negeit amin meshichenu lifto mekakeket yeshu To mitim yechayel berov chasto Baruch Adei ad shem dilato Mitim yechayel berov chasto Baruch Adei ad shem dilato Shabbat shalom everyone.